everyone. So I'm here today to give you my plans for the Invisible Cities project for February and March. Both countries have been now announced, and if you want to take part, just check their videos. I will link their announcements down below so that you can check a little bit more. But basically the idea of the Invisible Cities project is that we read from 3 countries every month. So the hosts choose the countries that we're going to be reading from, and then each one of us just chooses some books, some movies, some music, some food that we are going to experience, so that we can feel a little bit closer to the culture of that country. There is also a Discord to discuss all things Invisible Cities. We give recommendations for books. There are buddy reads there. It's just great. The community is great, so I will really recommend that you join us. But yeah, going to my plans, the countries that were chosen for February are China, Colombia and Egypt. I have to say, China took over everything for February, but I guess it's kind of fitting because I think it's their New Year's in February, right? So yeah, it's just taking over everything. I also have to say that the availability of the books I've chosen depends on the status of the library at that point and the lockdowns. So it might be that I can just not get to all these books because they are not available to me. But yeah, I hope they are, so we'll see. But yeah, let's start with China, now that I have mentioned how many books I have for that country. So the first ones are, I have 7 books in total for China, and 3 of them are non-fiction and 4 of them are fiction. And I have to say also that most of the recommendations I got for China come from the Bookish Land. I will link her channel down below and also in the cards because she's amazing and she gives so many good recommendations about Chinese books. You have to go watch. But yeah, the first one I have is actually not from a Chinese author, and that's River Town by Peter Hessler. So Peter Hessler moved to China, and he basically describes in this book that experience of really starting to discover Chinese culture and trying to understand all the different things that are not common in the West. And yeah, basically he gives a very deep analysis of Chinese culture from an outsider's perspective. He, as I believe, is a professor in Asian culture in a university, so it's not like he's a complete stranger to it, and I have seen this book recommended by Chinese people. So even though it's not from a Chinese author, it does come highly recommended, so I thought I would put it anyway. And yeah, there is some issues with Chinese authors that are not translated, unfortunately, to English, so coming up with non-fictions that are from Chinese authors written in Chinese originally, it's a challenge sometimes, so that's why I thought it's okay for me to read this one for China. The second one I have, however, it is from a Chinese author, and that's The Kingdom of Women by Choo WaiHong. And this one basically is about the life of women. I believe it's especially in rural areas, yeah, how women, what is the role of women in Chinese society. So that sounds also very interesting, and both of these I have accessible in ebook form, so I do not need the library, which is a plus in these days. And then the last non-fiction I have is Betraying Big Brother by Leta Fincher, which I believe is from an author that has Chinese heritage, but was not born in China herself. And this one, as the title says, it's about the political struggles and the misinformation that the government of China, specifically in this case, gives So yeah, I'm also very interested on that story. About the fiction picks, I have 4, as I said, and yeah, so 3 of them are from the library that I would have to get in the library, so that's why I decided to choose all of these books, because if the library is not open by February, which is an option, I still have things to read. The first one I have available in ebook, and that's The Herbivorous Family by Ma Jian. And this particular book, I believe, is short stories. So I normally don't get along with short stories all that well, but in this case, because I don't have as much knowledge of the Chinese culture, I think it will be positive for me to know a little bit more. I have more stories than one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. The next one I have is Beijing, Coma by Ma Jian. This one, I believe it's a big book, but it follows a medical student that was in the Tiananmen Square protests, and because of that he went into a coma, and then he wakes up 10 years later and sees how much the society has changed, which sounds like a very interesting concept. So I'm looking forward to that. The next one I have is UFO in Her Eyes by Xiaolu Guo. The main reason I chose this one, I don't know much about it, but the main reason I chose that one is because some time ago I read Once Upon a Time in the East by Xiaolu Guo, which is her memoir of her growing up in China with her grandparents in a very, very small town. And she talks about things like she didn't know that her grandparents were not called grandpa and grandma because everyone referred to them as that, or like she didn't know how to write her name for a very long time, things like that. And then eventually when she goes to Beijing to study art and then move to the UK. And I loved this memoir. I thought it was so interesting, and I just want to read more from her, and that is the book that my library had, so that is going to be the one that I read if the library is open on time. Otherwise I probably would read some other time. And then the last one I have is kind of considered a classic in Chinese literature, and that's Half a Lifelong Romance by Eileen Chang. And yeah, so this one is a romance in the 1930s in China, so it explores the society at that time. And yeah, I guess it's a bit like your Jane Eyres and your Brontes and stuff, these kind of romances that give you a peek into another society and another time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well, to try some classics from Chinese literature, or modern classics at least. So yeah, those are all the books I have for China. Hopefully it will happen, we will see. But then also I have some movies and some food that I want to make. Well, food, it's endless. Like Chinese food is so good, and there's so much of it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I have this book called Veganist. It's not only Chinese, but it has several Chinese recipes. The one I'm going to make for sure is the pan noodles. I hope you can see. They look amazing. And yeah, that's my plan. At least I'm going to make that one for sure, and we will see what else I manage to make. I would really like to try to make those steamed buns that they have. Those I love, so I will try to do that. And then the movie that I chose, it's in Netflix, which is always helpful, and it's called Asan. And this movie is about a father and a son, or the family of a young man that went to prison, and what happens when he comes back from prison. I don't know much about it, but it sounded good and it's on Netflix, so I think that's what I'm going to go for. Then for the country of Colombia, I have chosen to read El prestigio de la belleza by Piedad Bonnett. But yeah, this one sounded interesting, and it's also in ebook form in my library, so I can access to it easily. For the movie, for Colombia, I chose El Sendero de la Anaconda, which is also in Netflix, which is fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm planning to at least cook some arepas, which I made once before and they are just really good. So I think I'm going to do that for Colombia. And then for Egypt, I have a book that I have been wanting to read for a really long time, and that is The Hidden Face of Eve by Nawal El Saadawi. And this one is a non-fiction book about the life of women in Egypt, which sounds really interesting, of course. And yeah, that one is in my library, so I hope I'm going to be able to access it. I think I will do Egypt last in February so that I have more chances to get access to the library. But yeah, that one is the one I've written down. I hope I can access to it. And this one has been in my wishlist TBR from the library forever, so I'm really excited about that. And then for movie, it's more of a documentary, I believe, and it's called The Square. And I think this is about some social issues that they had, and the riots that went after. And then I think for food, I'm going to try to make some flatbreads and some baba ganoush and all of those good things. I don't have specific recipes yet, but yeah, I think there's a lot of very tasty things. North Africa is really good for vegan food. So yeah, that's something that I'm looking forward to. Then for March, the countries for March are Libya, Iraq and Mexico. So for Libya, I have two books. The first one is In the Country of Men by Hisham Matar, which is a fairly famous book. I don't know a lot about it, but it's basically about a child in the times of the revolution in 1969. And it's very well regarded, so I am looking forward to that one. And then I also have written down The Bleeding of the Stone by Ibrahim al-Koni, which is about a shepherd in northern Libya just surviving, and it sounds really good, but I don't know if I will be able to access it anywhere. So yeah, that's a bit of a maybe. And then for the movie, I found there's one called Lion of the Desert that sounds really good, so yeah, I think I'll be watching that. And for recipes, I think there is a thing called batan, some kind of like potato pouch that you can fill with whatever, and normally it's filled with meat, but I'm sure I can also fill it with something else. So yeah, that's I think what I'm going to do for Libya. Then for Iraq, again, I don't know yet how I'm going to source these books, but I will find a way. And the first one that I have is The Beekeeper, Rescuing the Stolen Women of Iraq by Dunja Mikhail. And as it says, it's about the women that were stolen from ISIS and went to live with ISIS. So that sounds really interesting. And then the other one I have written down is The Corpse Exhibition and Other Stories of Iraq by Hassan Blassin. And Hassan Blassin, I think it's quite also a famous author in Iraq. And it's yeah, this book is also, I think, about stories of war. And again, I'm not a very short story prone reader, but I think that when you don't know anything about a country, short stories can help to give you a lot of perspectives in one single book. So this sounded interesting. I couldn't find many books for Iraq that were not about war, but I guess that makes sense. They have been in war for a long time, so yeah, it's sad, but it is what it is, right? For movies, I have actually two. The first one is El Clásico, and I think it's a movie about people wanting to watch the Madrid-Barcelona match in rural Iraq and how they managed to do it as a village or something like that. And I think actually I have heard of this before researching this. I don't know if I have actually watched it, but it sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And the other movie I have is Homeland Iraq Year Zero, something like that. This one I know less about, but it sounds like an exploration of current Iraqi culture. And then for food, they also had a lot of tasty looking things, but the one I'm going to go for is lentil soup, which sounds similar to something we also have in Spain, but with a bit of a exotic twist. So, and then it sounds great also. March is still kind of cold around here, so I'm sure I will find a gloomy dark day to make lentil soup and feel all cozy inside. And then the last country we had for March is Mexico. Now I have two books that I already had in my TBR as well, and they are all in ebook form. So again, regarding COVID regulations, I hope this will be okay for when I want to read them. And the first one is La Cresta de León by Cristina Rivera Garza. And this is, it says basically in the summary that something arrives in the door of this woman, and it's kind of magical. There are ghosts involved and things like that, and that sounds fun, and it's also quite short, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then the other one I have written down, it's actually, I don't think this author is, I don't know if it's she's Mexican or she's from Mexican heritage, but that's the one I've written down is Ghosts of the Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. She's also known from Mexican Gothic, which it's kind of a YouTube darling, but I chose this one because it sounds more interesting to me. And this is a fantasy, I think YA novel, or touching the YA limits, and it's based on Mexican mythology, and I think that sounds quite good and quite easy to read, and not all of these books need to be super heavy, and because I have already read quite a bit from Mexico, I feel like I can have a little bit of more of a different twist or a more fun book in Mexico, because I already have a number of perspectives that I have already experienced. And then for the movie, I think it's in Netflix, it's called Chicuarotes. And yeah, I think that movie is about a group of boys of around university age and their friendship group. So yeah, that sounds interesting. And then for food, from the Gus Oakley vegan book, I want to make these vegan nachos, tortilla chips with like beans and guacamole and stuff. I have made something similar before and it was really tasty, so I'm looking forward to make that again, and maybe some other things as well, but that's the basics that I'm planning to do. So yeah, those are my plans for the Invisible Cities projects for February and March. Let me know if you are participating, if you have recommendations from any of these countries in terms of food, movies, or in terms of books. I would particularly like movie recommendations because I'm not super good at watching movies or keeping up with them, so it will be extra helpful if you have any more movie recommendations. And until next video, bye!